Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We are live. It's a rather chilly day, although we are located in the center of the automotive universe here on the Gulf Coast in Pensacola, Florida. What a beautiful day it is, though. I have to tell you, in the 50s, clear skies. The sun's out, and it's sort of a go drive your car day. It'd be a great day to drive your automobile. That is, if your car's in good shape. If it's not, then maybe you can just rent a car or call Uber or whatever. I don't know where that came from. Okay, don't rent a car. Don't call Uber. Take your car to a shop and have an annual inspection performed. That's a great idea. Like cleaning out behind your refrigerator once a year, whether it needs it or not. So with regard to automobiles, I have an interesting, what are the top 10 most common vehicle repairs? I'll share that with you when I come back from the commercial break, and I'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, or Hannah will take your calls. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this morning in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can make your tax refund go farther at O'Reilly Auto Parts. If you've been delaying some much-needed car maintenance, delay no longer. Spend a little of your tax refund on your vehicle now and save on expensive repairs down the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts has exactly what you need at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day when I come back. This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Folks, I've seen just about everything imaginable in car repair, or so I thought, until a Lexus came in with a hard cold start issue. Of course, it ran perfectly when it arrived at the shop, but our service team ran tests, installed a new cam sensor from our local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. Car fixed, we thought. Turned out the new sensor reacted the same way when cold, hard starting. Bad new sensor? Nope. Upon closer inspection, we pinpointed the problem. Believe it or not, the aluminum cam cover was corroded underneath the new sensor, warping it slightly, which threw the cam sensor off target, interrupting its waveform. The car's computer thought the cam wasn't turning, hence no start. We resurfaced the spot on the cam cover, installed a replacement sensor, courtesy of our O'Reilly Parts professionals. And now the owner says his Lexus starts better than it had in years. This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have the money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. For example, heater core leaks are an expensive repair and can cost up to $1,000. These sorts of leaks often happen on vehicles that really aren't worth the price of the repair. Your choice is to spend the money or junk the car. Now, there's a third option, K-Seal. Older sealers use sodium silicate, and while it may stop the leak, it may also clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair leaking heater cores without clogging. It's a simple repair. Just shake the container, mix the contents completely, add K-Seal to the radiator directly when the vehicle is cool, and then drive the car until the leak is sealed. Important to remember that when working on a cooling system, never remove a radiator cap while the vehicle's hot. Pressure and heat can be dangerous. Avoid a coolant leak casualty? Try K-Seal. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
So during the commercial break, I wondered what can we do this morning that would be a lot of fun and engaging. So I do have a list from the Car Care Council, which is our partners, of what the top 10 most common vehicle repairs are. I'd sort of like for maybe some of you to guess what they are. And, I could give away a prize to the winner. But I think the prize would be for each and every one of you that would understand and know after the fact what the top 10 most common repairs are, so that when you go to a service shop, you can say, oh, while you're changing my oil and filter, while you're rotating in my tires, you can check some of the following. So I'll give you a few minutes. Let's see, it's 12 after the hour. I'll give you 3 minutes to get a pen and pencil. And of course, you can always tune into this program. Every program's recorded and made available. And Fabio, what are some of the sites? I know that it's iTunes, right?
Right, iTunes is one. We put our interviews and the full show, hour 1 and 2, on YouTube and our Car Clinic network.
On YouTube. So YouTube, that would be youtube.com/Bobby Likis.
Correct.
Likis, folks. This is so funny. People come into the shop, and folks, in addition to this broadcast, which is studios located inside a 15,000 square foot automotive service shop, some March the 11th will be 47 years. Thank you very much. And people will come in. I say people, some car owners, some solicitors. It's the solicitors that are the most fun, because they'll call on the phone and ask for Robert. Is Robert in? Robert. Well, my name is Robert Alexander Likis. And so people that don't know me, and we've been in business a long time, or people that are solicitors, I said, well, ask it, is Robert in? And and my team will play with them, I think, and sort of have fun. Robert who? Well, Robert Likis, or Leaks, or there are other names too, but I won't go into that. But it's a lot of fun. And if you're in business, or if you've been in a situation to where maybe you're at an event and someone really wants to talk with you, but they don't really know your name. And in the case, a lot of times we have our interviews, and we're going to reach out to Rob Peterson with Buick a little later today sometime. We're going to call him, and I'll let you know about what's going on with Buick. But normally when I get an interview, and Fabio, you know this, it's one of those, it's a name that I cannot pronounce. I mean, I'm not really good with pronouncing names anyway. So, it's always one of the, like next week we're going to have Micah Muzio on. It's M-U-Z-I-O. And he's the video director for Kelley Blue Book. He's a really neat guy. He gets to do what a lot of car guys would love to do. He goes out and gets new cars and trashes them. I mean, I say trash, he thrashes them. Yeah, that's a better word. Thrashes, not trash. Which means that he takes them to the track and runs them through their pace. But he also does a whale of a job to distinguish which is the best. And I think Kelley Blue Book, and I know they have a best of the best for 2018. And I can't wait to hear and see what those cars are. And Micah is a gentleman that does that with Kelley Blue Book, along with his associates, of course. He's not a lone one-man show there by any stretch of the imagination. But that's a great company, and I can't wait to hear what's the best of the best. But having said that, as a rule, I'll get Rostanovich or Martinelli or some name that I really can't pronounce, and I try to fake it. Well, you know, really, I should be old enough and wise enough not to fake it and say, excuse me, what is the correct pronunciation of your name? But when someone comes back and gives you the pronunciation of the name, they don't pronounce it phonetically. They just say blah 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 blah. So I still don't know how to pronounce it. So it's my lack of, I guess, or my bad. Doesn't matter. But it really is embarrassing when you say, help me to pronounce your name or spell your name, and they say Smith, S-M-I-T-H. You know, I mean, it's happened to all of us, I know. There are a couple other things that I could say that I've asked people about that I was embarrassed, but I won't go there. But I will go back to, for our Car Care Council, they put together a list of the top 10 most common vehicle repairs, changing the oil filter. Oh, and let me give you the number so Hannah will take your call. My bad again. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. If you've got a car question or a question about oil or tires or I just put a new set of tires on my car, by the way. Just put a new set of tires on my car. Not a good experience. Not a good experience. The car I'm driving today walks up and down. As you're approaching a stoplight, it walks up and down. And I went with the same tire that the car came with from the manufacturer because it is the quietest tire I've ever driven on any car. But they're bad to take a memory. You park the car until the first couple of blocks, were they bad to take a memory? But that's okay. I can live with that because I was expecting that. What I wasn't expecting is that the left front fender of my car to oscillate as I eased up to the stoplight. And sure enough, and I've had them on there a couple of weeks, my schedule didn't allow us to check it. And sure enough, the tires were bad. The pair for the front are a different size from the pair from the rear, and the pair for the front were born on I think the 22nd week of 17, and then the rears were born manufactured at another date. But they're matching rears and matching front. They're not matching all four, but they're young tires, and it was important that I get the youngest possible tire so that I would know that I had the freshest rubber going forward. But anyway, I'll share that story with you. I don't think I should really tell you what the brand is, but I won't say they're Dunlop, but they were. They're Dunlop, and I'm really disappointed in them. But this week, Dunlop's going to give me 2 more tires. I'll tell you about that next week. Again, I chose those tires over General, over Michelin, over Cooper, over a lot of, I thought about Pirelli. You know, the Pirelli makes a good tire. And I just happened to get, one tire, but I just happened to get both front tires are bad. And they're out of round. And they're brand new. And it's really, really, I can understand how you folks could be aggravated. You go to buy a brand new set of tires, But here's something that's really strange and kind of suspicious to me. The last time I bought these tires, I paid like $1,300. This time they were $900. I don't know and don't understand why they are so much cheaper than they're $200-something a tire. But I didn't buy by the price. I bought by the quietness. And so when I get my 2 true round Dunlops, I'll be happy again, and I'll share that with you as well. I don't want to trash the manufacturer, but it's beyond me with the technology that we have today how a tire manufacturer could have a tire that wasn't round. If you looked at and you understood what goes into the making of a tire, and you make one, if you make 1,000 tires, you might have 1 or 2 out of 1,000. I have 2. Now, having said that, with all due respect, both of these tires were made on the same week, so maybe that was a bad batch. It could be. Okay, back to what are the top 10 most common vehicle repairs. And I mentioned changing the oil and filter, and replacing the wiper blades and air filters, and scheduled maintenance top the list of the 10 most common repairs for 2017. But according to research by IMR Inc., an industry leader in automotive research, that's IMR Inc., the top 10 most common vehicle repairs performed by vehicle owners and their trusted automotive service shops were and are, number one, well, you know this already. Fabio, can you guess what the number one would be?
Oil.
Exactly. I mean, this is not rocket science, right? Okay, oil/oil filter changed. Number two, take a guess.
Jonathan says battery.
Well, now, battery is not a maintenance item. Battery is a defective battery or a challenge, or so we're talking specifically maintenance. That's where the Car Care Council excels, because and that's a good. I'm glad that Jonathan said that, because, folks, if you perform all of these services, you won't get into as quickly. You'll get farther down the road with a safe car if you do the maintenance, and that's where you can go to carcare.org and get your list. Okay, here they are. And I'll go through them 1 through 10. Oil and filter, wiper blade replacement, air filter replacement, scheduled maintenance. I'm not sure why the Car Care Council put number 4, scheduled maintenance, in there, but I guess that means, according to the manufacturer's book, new tires. That rings a bell. Battery replacement. I'll be darned. There you go, Jonathan. Number 6 was battery replacement. Brake work, absolutely. Antifreeze added. I don't know why you'd have to add antifreeze. You should replace it, not add it. Shouldn't leak. Engine tune-up, that we can talk about that all day long. And wheels aligned and tires balanced. Courtesy of the Car Care Council. Carcare.org. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. Today's vehicles have more than 150 electrical accessories for safety, comfort, and sustainability, 7 times the number 20 years ago. Only AGM batteries are precision engineered to meet this electrical demand by reliably supporting backup cameras, start-stop technology, and many other devices. AGM batteries have longer life than standard flooded batteries and will not spill acid during installation or during an accident. When you need a new battery, insist on an AGM battery to meet today's evolving electrical needs.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm place on a
I
cold
want to be
day.
a football
I want to be a
stadium.
bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Folks, being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can put strains on your vehicle. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. This time of year, it's smart to check tread depth before driving on icy roads, and you may want to consider special winter tires. Check tire pressure weekly during the winter, as every 10-degree drop in temperature causes a 1-pound decrease in tire pressure. Check your exhaust system for carbon monoxide leaks, as windows are more likely to be closed during this time of year. It's also a great idea to keep your gas tank half full, as this will help avoid moisture buildup in the gas lines, which could ultimately freeze this time of year. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100.
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Let me remind you, every week from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we're live right here. You can go to your local radio AM and or FM station and tune us. You can go to iTunes, or easier yet, you can go to watchbobbylive.com, and we're right here. And we operate for 47 years, a full-service, bumper-to-bumper automotive service, repair, and pre-repair. Pre-repair is a program that we created and we trademarked that is the prevention of repair. I won't go into the details, but I can tell you, and I do not have the study to back up this data, but I have the experience an educated experience to make it. Almost 60% of all breakdowns breakdowns can be avoided with preventive, proactive measures, not preventive maintenance. I do not like the word preventive maintenance. Why? Because if you ask 1,000 people coming out of the mall, well, you wouldn't do that, but let's say if you ask 10 people coming out of the mall, or 100 people, what do you take care of your car? Oh yeah, I change the oil and filter regularly. Really? Well, good. I brush my teeth twice a day. Really? Does that mean that you don't ever have to go to a dentist? I mean, think about it, folks. There's a lot more. Preventive maintenance is obsolete because it is incomplete. And pre-repair is the answer. And pre-repair runs parallel with the FAA's operation, just like getting an annual inspection on your airplane, even if you never moved it out of the hangar. It's mandatory every year. Okay, let's go to Kansas and take a call, and then before I get into any more of the pre-repair, the prevention of repair, from Alvin. Alvin, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, Bobby. I listen to your show every Saturday.
Well, great. I'm glad that you do. What do you drive? And sounds like you're in a car.
Well, I'm in a pickup right now, but I have a 99 F-250 with the V10 in it.
Yes, sir.
And my son was driving that down the interstate, and the battery light came on, so he pulled over, and they ended up replacing the battery in the alternator, which it ran fine. But ever since that's happened, when we go to start it up, we will get that red battery signal, on the dash. And it does affect, like if you have the fan on, the fan will slow down, but it will kick off after the pickup warms up after a while.
Okay.
I was wondering if you'd ever run into anything like that, or if that's got an external voltage regulator that's messed up, or...
I have, and I have recently, in fact, and it was not a V10, Alvin, but it was a Ford, and I don't know what year, and I can't remember or recall, in 2000 or 2001. Here's what I recommend that you do, and this is something that you can do without having to go into a shop. I want you to disconnect. I want you to trace the negative battery cable down to the block where it is bolted onto the block, and it probably is bolted onto the timing cover stud, or perhaps the left front cylinder head. Right. Well, is the battery on the left or the right?
Well, it's on the left if you're facing the pickup.
Right. Okay, it's facing. So that's the right, which is anytime you talk cars, you always talk as though you're in the driver's seat. So the passenger side is the right side, driver's side, left side. So what you do is you trace the battery cable, easy to do, down to the negative cable, down to the engine block, and you remove the bolt that holds that cable. I don't care if it looks beautiful and shiny, which it won't look shiny, but if it looks like it's okay. And then you take a whatever you have, wire brush. If you don't have a wire brush, you can use a little sandpaper or, you know, something, Scotch-Brite pad, and you scuff the block and you scuff the cable on both the underside and where the bolt goes through it. Maybe put a new washer if it needs it, and then bolt that battery cable back up to the block. Now this will do two things. It will ensure that you have a good ground, and Ford has a technical. There are technical service bulletins, and you know, you hear me speak of alldata.com. I mean, I've been a subscriber for, I don't know, 30 plus years, and with millions of other technicians and shop owners. So alldata.com gives us the information we need to service today's cars, and also alldata.com gives us recalls and technical service bulletins, and a TSB would be a bulletin that was from the OEM, from the car maker, whether it's Ford, like we're talking about, or Chevrolet, Buick, Mercedes-Benz, all cars, where they send to their dealers updates on specific items for cars as the cars age. So that's a TSB. It's not a recall. But it's fantastic information that we have a car comes in like yours. Well, when your car comes in, we run a test on it. And one of the tests that we would run would be a voltage drop. So we would check voltage. And this happened just yesterday with an Explorer. Now that I mention it, yeah, duh. The car had a new battery in it. And so Johnny Bars, our master ASE certified technician and shop foreman, and just, you know, he's me in the shop, for lack of a better, if you will. He checked the alternator, and because this car had an erratic behavior that would misfire. So we were doing some substantial work to it with coils and plugs and valve cover gaskets, I think, and some other things. But here's the point. The battery voltage, the battery checked 12.4 volts at the battery terminal, the post coming out of the battery, but at the terminal, which is bolted onto the post, it was like 6 volts under, and yet that looked like a good contact. So you never know what you've got there, and so we're going to service the battery. We're going to replace the positive. There's a little flat plate that wraps around, kind of a funky way that Ford did it, but it wraps around the terminal and grasps the terminal, and then it has a flat platform where the cables go up in like on a boat, where you're going to dock a boat and wrap the rope around the dock, you know, and that's the way it's made. It's just, I'm sure it's something to do with a better way that Ford designed it, but more than likely it's something to do with assembling the car at the factory. Anyway, having said that, you redo your ground, and while you're doing that, automatically the car will reboot, and specifically the body control module. And the body control module has a lot to do with the interior lights, the dash cluster, and those sorts of things. So in essence, by removing the battery cable, and no, you will not reset the onboard. You can't reset codes and all that. People think you can, but that does not reset the code. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about the body control module. Once you disconnect the negative side, Alvin, it will, when it boots back up, when you put the negative back on, turn the key back on, and the body control module boots back up, the dash cluster will boot back up, and all of its internals, you know, lights and gauges and yada yada. So that's what I recommend. And you know what I'd love for you to do is, I'd love for you to do that this week, and then call me and let me know, and everyone else who's tuned in, if that corrected your strange behavior of the light there and your battery perhaps voltage problems. Got it?
Yes, I do. Well, I sure appreciate it.
I appreciate you. How's the weather in Kansas?
Well, it's mild and 30 degrees today.
Well, mild and 30. And you're inside a warm vehicle, and so all is good.
Yes.
Okay, my friend. Take care.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome a lot. 888-227-2546. 888 Car Clinic. So, how interesting that they're the top 10. Let's go back to that list, if you don't mind, just 1 minute. In the top 10 most common automotive services for 2017, there were a list of specific items, but number 4 on that list, and Fabio, you and I were talking about this during the break. Number 4 on the list was preventive maintenance or maintenance schedule preventive maintenance.
Right.
Well, all of those things that are on that list come under that umbrella of preventive maintenance. So our partners at Car Care Council made the list, but if I had been on that voting board, I would have put on the top of the list, of course, oil and filter change, but you see that comes under scheduled maintenance.
Yep.
Tire rotation, brake repair doesn't come under scheduled maintenance. I mean, that's as needed. It's brake inspection comes under that. So, and that reminds me, and so that I can bring value to the program and help you with your car, folks. I mentioned our pre-repair and the annual inspection that the FAA requires. An annual inspection for your car is something that, if let's say that you've got a 2015 Lexus, and it's a great car. It's got 28,000 miles on it. You know, it's a terrific car. What is it that's going on within that car, under that hood, or under the chassis down there where you don't look, and you shouldn't? I mean, no need to, but it's in a hostile environment. I mean, if you don't think it's a hostile environment down under there, you think about hitting a pothole at 30 miles an hour and the bone jarring effect that has. Well, just think about if you were down there at the impact. I mean, when we, for instance, when we check an oil, when we perform an oil analysis, and when an oil analysis is performed, period, they take a sample of the oil. And then whatever metals are in that oil, the amount of metal, whether it's aluminum or iron or water or other chemicals that shouldn't be in there, or there's always metal in oil because the engine's wearing. It is the amount and trace amounts that is important. And so if you could possibly, rather than taking a sample out of 5 or 8 quarts of oil, which is diluted, what if you went to exactly where, say if you want to check the oil actually wear at the ring, if you could pick up a sample of wear at the ring groove behind the piston, now you wouldn't have a diluted sample, you would have a concentrated sample of the oil. And there's a company in the UK that actually years ago created just such a sampling, and they attached a flexible hose to the backside of a piston in a diesel engine and ran it down to a closure box on the side of the crankcase. And when the rod and piston went up and down, that flexible hose just followed it but stayed intact, and they picked up a sample of the oil from directly behind the ring so they could measure wear that much more precisely. How interesting. Speaking of interesting, Rob Peterson's in the house. Rob Peterson, Buick Marketing Manager. So stay tuned. When we come back, we'll find out what's going on at GM. Folks, recently a 99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Get ready to call 888 Car Clinic so I can help you solve your car challenges. By the way, the Buick brand is evolving with its customer base, and 2017 was an exciting year for Buick. It was filled with the launch of 4 all-new products: the Enclave, Regal Sportback, Regal Tourex, and Regal GS, in addition to the launch of a new sub-brand, Avenir, the highest expression of Buick luxury. I love the look of that automobile. On the hotline with us now is Rob Peterson, Buick Marketing Manager from the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. Rob, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, thanks, Bobby. It's great to be here.
The Buick brand has made a lot of progress the last few years and has one of the freshest lineups of new vehicles in the industry. Rob, from the various Buick Regal variants to the line of SUVs like the Encore and the Enclave and the new Avenir luxury line, how is Buick brand fulfilling the needs and wishes of nearly every driver?
Well, that's a great point here. I would start off with the freshest lineup. It really started about just under 2 years ago at this very show when we first showed the Buick Cascada convertible. Since that point in time, we've launched 7 new vehicles, including 4 last year, and then came out with the Avenir sub-brand. And it's not just that they're all new, it's where they're positioned in the marketplace that I think is really driving Buick's success. So many people have perceptions of where Buick was, and they look at sedans in that regard. And when they see our new sedans, the LaCrosse and the Regal and the Regal Sportback and the GS, quickly changes their perception of where the brand's coming. It's vehicles like the Encore, which we sold nearly 90,000 units last year, almost 60% of which were to people who had never driven a Buick or even a General Motors vehicle before. That's really doing the yeoman's work of changing the face of the Buick customer. So between new products and the products in the right spots, we're really being able to get some market momentum, which played out really well this year. We were up 1.6% over in 2017 in an industry that was a little bit, their year-over-year average for the industry was a little bit south.
Wow. So not only is that a point-plus percentage above the norm, but not counting the south part. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers the Avenir, the luxury line. I don't know how many years it's been, maybe 2 or 3, Rob, that I saw that a concept of that automobile. It was drop dead gorgeous. Let's talk about that vehicle with the trim package that's now paired.
Sure. Well, actually, there was 2 concept cars. There was the first one was the Avenir, and that came out in 2015, and it kind of showcased the new Buick logo plus the winged grille, some of the lighting changes, a little bit of it hinted at an interior change as well. That was a much more inclusive design element for all 4 passengers inside the Avenir. The next year we came out with the Avenir concept, which was a much more aggressive, distinctive looking concept vehicle. Had a black ice grill, had the same carryover logo and wings from the Avenir. And those two combined to kind of set the design style, the design for Buick Avenir going forward. So right now we have the Enclave in market. It's doing extremely well. Next month, Buick LaCrosse Avenir will begin arriving in dealerships. Both these vehicles have a very distinct front-end grille. You know, it's a little on the exclusive side. They have unique interior colors to them. They have a chestnut with a gray piping that goes down. Tasteful badging that goes around. They also have up-level headlamps and tail lamps on both. So it's a much more exclusive experience. What we've learned in the past over the last 10 years is that the Buick owners are coming back and they're basically loading up their vehicles. And so Avenir is kind of built off of that premise. When they come in, a Buick owner looking for an Avenir gets all of the equipment that they want. And now with the Avenir exterior pieces to it, they get a little bit of an exclusive look to go along with it. So we're very bullish about the Avenir, very bullish about the Buick brand.
As well, you should be. We're talking with Rob Peterson, Buick marketing manager. So Rob, the new Buick Regal Tourex and Sportback are interesting offerings from Buick. Tell our Car Clinic listeners and viewers about those vehicles, and also share GM's target buyer.
Oh, absolutely. So there's a lot of people talk about sedans and how sedans, the marketplace has kind of shrunk. But to date, it still represents about 12% of all vehicles sold. So there's a lot of growth opportunity in there. We have the Regal Sportback, which is a unique proposition in the midsize car section. From the street side, you look at it, you know, it's a very Buick-esque sedan, but it has a Sportback, which means that it pops, the whole hatch in the back opens up, which allows for carrying extra odd-sized goods and some larger-sized goods, which gives it an element of functionality. So it's very traditional with the Buick sedan portfolio, but it has some functionality that we believe will carve out an element in that particular segment. From that base vehicle, we've been also able to offer the Tourex, and the Tourex is a wagon, which is truly the true essence of a crossover. It's positioned right in between a sedan and right in between a crossover. Wagons are something that a lot of people are enamored with, and we think there's a lot of potential in the marketplace for those people who like to drive the sedan but want the functionality of an SUV or the crossover. The Tourex is going to give that to them, and they're going to give it to them in a uniquely Buick style, something that people have come accustomed to.
So it would be fair to say that a Buick has a full line of options and vehicles from compact to full-size SUVs and crossovers. A website where we might get more information.
Sure, there's Buick.com, and to that very last point, you know, our portfolio has kind of evolved. Our highest volume vehicle is the Buick Encore, which is a small SUV. In the last 2 years, we've entered the compact SUV marketplace with the Envision. We now have the Enclave for those with larger families. We have the Tourex if you don't want to go all the way up there. We're still strong in the sedan marketplace, so we're pretty confident that we can do a great job of attracting new customers, but also retaining our Buick loyalists who have really powered through the brand in the last years.
Well, sounds like a plan to me. Rob Peterson, Buick Marketing Manager, joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Rob, I'll let you get back to the International Auto Show there in Detroit. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations to GM and all of your associates for the great work that you're doing and for that larger-than-life niche that Buick has carved and recarving for the futures of GM.
Thank you, Bobby, and you have a great day as well.
And they have. Buick has done a great job on their, I say, niche. They really have, because it's, and I'm reminded, not your father's Oldsmobile, which is, this is that's gone now, but Buick really made a new market segment out of its position, and even the younger generation, because of the design aspects. And Cadillac, I think, did the same thing, Fabio. They changed. Now, Cadillac didn't quite work for me, which, to each his own, because the Cadillac came out with a real edgy look, and they continue to have that edgy look. And I know they did that to try to bring in not lose their existing buyer base, but to grow that buyer base. But that rounded look, which is what the Asian cars brought, you know, the Lexus look, and when the Lexus came out in the 90s, gave Mercedes a fit. I mean, Lexus made a dent in Mercedes sales like the world has never known, or at least the car sales world has never known. And I'm not sure about the 2018 Lexus, and I know that Jesse may be tuned in today. I've yet to see a four-door, the LS, the new LS 500. I've yet to see that car in person, but to me, and folks, I don't know about you, and new cars, and which just reminds me, next week we're going to hear from Kelly Blue Book, and Micah Musio is going to be on, and we'll learn more about, you know, the top 10 or the top best cars for 2018. And I'm curious to see if Lexus LS series is going to be. We know they're great cars. There's no question about it. I love the Lexus car, and I have a great deal of respect for it because it makes me look good. And I say me, my team and I work on a lot of Lexus cars, and we actually moved, I actually imported, if you will, a gentleman from Virginia that was a Lexus ASE certified technician. Like 6 years he worked there in the dealership in Virginia. So, but getting back to the car itself, when you perform a service on a car or a repair on a car, which all cars need repair sooner or later, and how that vehicle responds to the operation can make you the hero, or it can make you the zero, as they say. Because if the car runs real well, for example, here we go with a Ford. You know, a Ford modular engine with a bad coil. Really? Yeah, really? I mean, that's like, you know, a dime a dozen. You better put all coils in the car. So you have a car owner, or you own a Ford, and you take your car to a service shop, and you have number 2 misfire and number 6 misfire. Well, yeah, because the coils are bad. Well, do you put all 8 coils in there? Well, I don't know. Gosh, look, that's a lot of money. So many times, and especially if it's number 1, let's say, just only, not number 1, but only 1 coil that's misfiring. So you put 1 coil and 1 spark plug? See, that doesn't work. It works short term, but it doesn't work really, because 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, or whenever, you're going to have to go right back to the service shop with the same symptom. The same symptom. You don't know it's number 2. So you go back to the shop and say, yeah, you just fixed my car. You put you put a new coil in, and well, let's check our records here. And according to our records, oh, here we go. And we replaced number 2 coil, and now you got number 4 that's misfiring. Really? Yes. So therein lies the communication. So when you go to a service shop, and if you're a service shop owner or service manager, new car dealership, doesn't matter. If you're in the business, what would you do if the car belonged to you? There's the secret, see? And people in my business don't, as a rule, they don't treat their customers' cars like they treat their cars. Now, what does that mean? Okay, a lot of people in my business don't drive good cars. Okay, well, that you can strike me out of that, because I have really good cars. I'm anal about my car, and I'm proud of it. And what that means is that whenever my car has an issue, I fix it then and there. And whenever I have another car that comes in like mine that has more miles on it, a customer's car, and there's an issue on that, then I say, oh, when my car gets, 75,000, it may have this issue. So I am very proactive about my car. I look for things to spend on my car, and therefore I don't have breakdowns, and I get to enjoy a car that is tip-top every time. Granted, I've got a couple of tires that are out of round, and that happens. I don't know how it would happen with today's technology. It shouldn't. How do you make a tire that's out of round in a machine that makes 1 million tires? How do you make 2 tires? What are the chances of me getting 2 tires that are out of round? Okay, I don't want to harp on that, but I will say this. Back to the Ford coils. When you take your car in, or if you're the service provider, you must look at that car not with how much money it's going to take to repair it, but what is the outcome and the return on an investment for the owner of that car? You know, I know, that Ford coils fail. Well, so do General Motors and other cars, but I'm picking on Ford this morning. That's okay. So replace all those cars. Here's what we did recently, and this week, yesterday. Yeah, duh. We have the Explorer in that had this misfire, and the gentleman that brought it over, James, and his wife, I think her name's Kathy, was following him. And she says at the stoplight, she could see the tailpipe pop, 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 shaking back and forth violently. Well, yeah, because the engine was misfiring. And so we went through some diagnostic steps, and Johnny did a really good job. He spent about a couple of hours, spent about an hour longer than I'd like, but nonetheless, he came back with a report of A, B, C, D, and we call it the red, the yellow, and the green. What is the red? Well, if you take your car into a service shop and the water pump's leaking, if fuel's leaking, that's red. That's number one. Or the water pump. Let's say the water pump's leaking. That's stop the bleeding. That's red. Well, what would be yellow? Well, it would be the valve cover gaskets were leaking oil down on the exhaust. That's something that you didn't have to fix right now, but you should. And then green would be the belt. These are things that need to be performed. And by the way, we've got the water pump off, so we put a belt on it at the same time because we're going to have the belt off. So you just buy the belt, you don't buy the labor because you already have the labor involved in the water pump repair. Just like, folks, if you're thinking about replacing a timing belt on a Lexus product or any product, you replace the kit. And the kit is the belt, the pulleys, the tensioner, and the water pump. And you do that on a Lexus every 105,000 miles. It's a no-brainer. It's what you should do. It is. So, but not everyone drives a Lexus. A lot of people drive cars that are old and really not worth the repair price. We had a car come in this week that was leaking coolant. And, this was a $2,000 car. This car was worth more to the owner than it was on the street. Why? Because it's paid for, but it needed more repair because the radiator had a crack in it, and I suspect there was engine damage. So what did we do? We did not recommend repairing our automobile. In fact, we recommended not spending money. We put K-Seal in the cooling system. It's a pour-and-go product, and we added it to the cooling system. We charged the owner for the K-Seal. We didn't charge the owner for repairs because we didn't do any repairs. And I'll let you know next week how that car runs, but I already know. It's a permanent fix for the engine gaskets and a radiator. Check it out, kseal.com, and stick around. We've got another great hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic coming up. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Race fans, the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500 at Texas Motor Speedway is Sunday, April 8th. And now you can earn a free O'Reilly Auto Parts 500 commemorative hat by mail. Just pick up a rebate form at O'Reilly Auto Parts and make a purchase of $25 or more. Or buy 5 quarts of any Pennzoil motor oil. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, It sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with snifflick new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to the second hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Hope you're having a great day. It's a lot of fun. We had a great first hour, and if you just now tuned in, ride along with me, and we'll open the phones that we already have, and we will take your calls. Miss Hannah will put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. The number to call, in addition to the 26454, is 888 Car Clinic. We created that number, and actually we tried to get the 800 Car Clinic, but that wasn't. Don't call that number, by the way. I mean it. 888 Car Clinic is our number. 888-227-2546. Believe it or not, I don't know how many times I've repeated that number. I hazard to guess, but there are times when my mind draws a blank. That ever happened to you? Your mind just draws a blank? Well, luckily it hasn't happened to me in a while. So it's 888-227-2546, but Hannah has it up here on the screen for me. Anyway, thank you, Miss Hannah, just in case. And sometimes I get so caught up in, how do you get caught up in cars, and how much fun can you actually have in car repair? Let's see, car repair, root canal. Car repair? No, it doesn't have to be that way, although it can sure feel that way sometime, I'll tell you, on both sides of the fence. Okay, I'm going to come back, and I see that Steve and Jim and Daryl are in the house, so why don't you join us at 888-227-2546 on the other side of this break. Stay with me. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries, including which vehicles are the best candidates for this type of battery. Let's hear from Joe.
Well, there are many different types of everyday vehicles that could be a good candidate, from soccer moms to landscape vehicles to different types of hot rods that really would work well with an AGM battery. Many of these vehicles include extensive electrical features, which really place greater emphasis on the demand for the battery. Additionally, if you purchase aftermarket accessories, such as infotainment systems or even lights, you may require a more advanced battery, such as our AGM. Lastly, where and how you drive your vehicle can really impact the battery performance. So for example, if you live in a climate that gets really hot or cold during our summers or winters, our AGM battery will perform better than standard flooded batteries under these conditions.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's cars. Learn more at autobatteries.com. Diablo Sport tuning systems give you the ability to easily boost your vehicle's power without even popping the hood. But don't take my word for it. PSCA racer Alex Rosio has been using Diablo Sport products on her Dodge Magnum since the beginning of her racing career. According to Alex, Diablo Sport tuners have been an essential part of her success. There really isn't a better line of products that offer quick tuning and diagnostics. Learn more at DiabloSport.com. And while you're there, check out the new Intune i3 Performance Programmer. That's DiabloSport.com.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
A special welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We'll go right to the phones, and now is the perfect time for you to call at 888-227-2546. 888 Car Clinic. Steve from Wisconsin, thank you so much for holding your first in and your first out. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby. Really appreciate your show. Look forward to it every week.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I've got a 2008 Ridgeline, Honda Ridgeline, 185,000 miles on it. Love the car. Had it, quite a few years already.
Sure.
Get a check engine light when it's 15, 20 below. And doesn't happen all the time, but when that check engine light had gone on the first time, took it to the dealer, they said, oh, catalytic converters, you need your catalytic converters replaced, front, back, banks, through the whole system.
Right.
And, pretty pricey replacement, about $1,100.
For sure.
Yeah. And I'm at a point now where I'm getting close to the 200,000 mark, where I'm also going to have to do the timing belt, the pump, all that kind of, maintenance type things to keep it running.
Right.
Concern is that it only happens when it's really cold. What's going on? Is it really the banks, since there's something else? Any ideas?
I do have. There's a warm-up phase, and we call it a drive cycle. A drive cycle. Let's say it's your car. And I'll make this shorter than longer. Let's say that your car had a bad injector and was over-fueling an engine. The injector was leaking or was over-fueling, or let's say it was stopped up, which happens more often than the other way. And then the check engine light sees there's a lot of fuel coming, and it reaches over a threshold. And Steve, there's a memory cell within the architecture of the onboard computer that measures fuel trim. And fuel trim is the ongoing measurement of the air-fuel ratio being trimmed and tuned as you drive. And when that falls out of a window, let's say it's 11%, 10%, which is way out of the 12%, 15%, then that will set a code, but not necessarily set a code. So we fix, anyway, the bottom line, let's say you take your vehicle in and it's got a check engine light and it was a bad injector, put an injector in it and then reset the computer. Well, didn't reset it, didn't reprogram it, but remove the code. So now the computer has a fresh memory, but the computer in its architecture and its programming from the factory wants to drive through 3 to 5 drive cycles before it's happy and before it relearns the air-fuel ratio or relearns whatever program that has been worked on. And so what happens is you take your car into a service and we perform a service on it, the industry performs a service on it, but the car has post-op cycles to drive through, and it measures what's going on for 5 drive cycles. Well, you can't, a technician can go drive the car, but after one day of working on a car, you probably don't want to leave your car for the next day, but in essence, the car needs not only one day, but 2 or 3 drive cycles, and a drive cycle is from dead cold, overnight stand, to normal operating temperature. And during that cycle, there's a lot of learning going on. Transmissions, automatic transmissions are famous for this. So we just repaired, and just finally last Saturday, one of my team came in and worked overtime, which is rarely, if ever, happens. And this 6-speed Volvo 90, CX90, I think it was, a 6-speed transmission, has about 11 speeds because it uses the torque converter 1, 2, 3 converter lockup, 4 minus the converter, 4 lockup converter, 5 minus the lockup, 6, and then lock. Anyway, so during that drive cycle, after we replaced the transmission, we had to drive that car at 30 miles an hour at 1,500 RPM for so many blocks, and then at 2,500 RPM for so many blocks. And so I believe that what you're seeing is that you have a drive cycle situation, and something is not right during the coldness of and the coolest part of the time. And here's the bottom line: when you go to a service shop, the service shop technician will secure their professional scan tool to the data port and drive that car through its drive cycle, which means you must leave the car like Monday night for a Tuesday morning, and it's got to be a cold weather. So that's not what's wrong with your car, but that's what your car falls under the category of what it's going to take to fix it. Do you understand?
I do. And what's interesting, it happened, just before Christmas, we had about 20 days of below zero weather, and it got really cold.
Right.
22 below, that's when it came on. So I had it just scanned again. They said same thing again. I said, okay, I'm just going to drive it.
Yeah.
I drove it for another week. Check engine light came off. Gone.
Right.
And then just this last week, it sat at the Minneapolis airport for the week. Went in, drove it for about 20 minutes, light came back on.
Yeah.
And it's in this real severe cold weather that it's happening.
Exactly.
So,
well,
that's my concern. Is it really $1,100 worth of catalytic converters, or is there something else going on?
Well, the cats, you can tell if a cat's bad because there's a post pre-cat sensor, O2 sensor, and a post O2 sensor. So you can measure the efficiency of a cat. The pre-sensor tunes the engine, air-fuel ratio, up and down, lean rich, lean rich, lean rich, and the computer follows suit. So when the pre-cat O2 sensor says you're running too rich, too much fuel, then the computer shuts off the injectors quicker, but when it does, it overcorrects. So it's like a pendulum, left and right, lean rich, lean rich. It does it all the time. Now, so what happens when it's too rich? There's fuel going into the cat. When it's too lean, there's no big deal, clean air. But that's what the catalytic converter is there for, to burn whatever is left over. So it is a trash compactor, incinerator, at all. Now, the post-cat sensor measures this lean rich, and it better not be lean rich, it better be flat-lined, meaning there's no too much fuel, there's no too much air. Why? Because the converter's cleaned up the trash. So it is the consummate, as you've seen in the movies, FBI post-cat measuring what comes out of the cat, making sure that's clean air for us to breathe. That's what that's all about. When that O2 sensor sees something and sees fuel and goes lean rich, it says, wait a minute, the cat's not doing its job. So it's relatively easy to condemn a cat. And we just did that yesterday on a college, University of West Florida student. And I talked to her dad twice, long distance in Jacksonville, Florida, and we condemned the right cat, and then the left cat, we're going to let it ride. But the bottom line is, this car had 264,264 miles on it, 05 RX 330. So I say to you, go back to the service shop, ask them to scan for the codes and read what codes are in your vehicle, because even when the light is out, Steve, the memory for the codes will be there. It has to be cleared. Even if you change the battery, those memory codes are still there. And at the very least, and I'll let you go, at the very least, ask them to, if they can't pinpoint or they need another test, ask them to clear the codes again, and then you go drive the vehicle, and the next time the light comes back on, you'll go back and get another reading and compare it, because we save those codes. Even if we clear the memory, we save them in our tools. So your VIN number, your name, your car is all in-house. It's a medical record or it's a performance record. You got it?
I got it. Hey,
okay, my friend.
Really appreciate it.
I appreciate
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Glad you called today. Let's go from Wisconsin. Let's go to Mississippi. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How you doing?
Hey, Bobby, hadn't talked. This is Jim in Laurel, Mississippi. I hadn't talked to you in a long time.
Well, where you been?
I got that disease you got, Bobby. I got that part-timer's disease.
Yeah?
I can remember what happened 20 years ago, but don't ask what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I know that's right.
I got 2 vehicles. 2001 Town and Country. You told me one time you had one.
I did. I did.
Got a 2002 Nissan Exterior.
Okay.
They're both doing the same thing.
All right.
My exterior, I put it in the shop last week. They had to change out the injectors. My check engine light was blinking, misfired. They changed this out. My exhaust manifold gaskets, everything. My check engine light went out and runs perfect, knock on wood. You need, like you told that gentleman there, drive it for a day or so, and give it time to recalibrate itself.
Absolutely.
Check engine light come back on that Nissan. I took it back to the shop. They say it's that solenoid in the back of the right back of the truck, what burns off excess fuel and stuff.
Right.
Same thing wrong with my Nissan, with my Town and Country. But that's not what I called about. I can fix that.
Okay.
But both of these vehicles, the Town and Country or the Nissan has 2 fuse boxes, one under the hood, one on the dashboard.
Okay, hey Jim, let me not to interrupt you, but we're coming up on a hard break, so I didn't want to get you caught. I didn't want you to get caught there. So you stay right there. I know Daryl from New York, you're on the phone, and Mike with a vet, you're on the phone. So stay with us. We'll get to the other side of this break and come back and hear the rest of what Mr. Jim has to say. I have another vehicle repair to spotlight. A 99 Jeep Cherokee came into the shop recently with a P0303 misfire fault on cylinder number 3. The misfire was erratic, which made diagnosing the problem more difficult. Other shops had thrown parts at it, installing new plug wires, plugs, fuel injector, and some technical service bulletin updates. Nothing worked. We used a borescope, a type of inside-the-engine camera, to inspect the number 3 cylinder, and sure enough saw heavy carbon deposits around the exhaust valve. No traditional cleaner will work on a carbonized exhaust valve. Enter Berryman Products B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. We removed the plug, brought the piston around so the exhaust valve was just opening, and filled the cylinder with Berryman B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. After an overnight soak, we siphoned out the chemical and replaced the plug. Now, several weeks since the repair, and no reported problems, thanks to Berryman. Find more automotive repair and maintenance solutions at berrymanproducts.com. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have spare money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. If you've had a car with a coolant leak, you know how expensive it can be. It's not usually the newer, higher-dollar vehicles that have leaks. It's the older vehicles, say $900 to $2,000 range, the cars we depend on for daily transportation and other vital tasks. If you're experiencing a coolant leak and the repair cost exceeds the value of your car, you don't necessarily have to take your car off the road. Try using K-Seal. We've seen our share of these in our shop where, before K-Seal, once a diagnosis was made of a leaking intake gasket, radiator, heater core, or head gasket, the car was sent for recycling and the owner had to purchase another. Before giving it up, try K-Seal. It's a pour-in solution that just may allow you to keep your car longer without spending more on repairs than the car is worth. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's go right back to the phones. They're jammed, and see if I can help some folks here. Jim, so we've established you've got the Nissan and the van, but specifically, what's your question to me today? And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The fuse box in the Nissan, you have two, one on the right front fender, one under the dash.
Okay.
All right, on the, I checked with a meter, half the fuses on the first three runs have no power. Could it be coming from one of the relays one of the big relays in the box outside?
Well, it's okay. So did you have the key on?
I had the key on, took my meter, I checked every fuse. As I started hitting dead ones, for the next 3 rows or 2 rows, there's no power coming to either side of the fuse.
Okay.
I pull a fuse out, I check it that way, there's no power to it.
Okay, to that end, then, can you tell me, of all of those fuses, what circuits any of those fuses feed?
All right, well, the back windshield wipers on either vehicle's working. The cruise control's not working on the thing, on the van.
Okay, all right. Wait a minute now. Let's talk about. Forget the van. Let's talk about one car at a time.
All right.
Because
on the Nissan.
All right, on the Nissan. Here's what I want to know: if one of the fuses is for the rear wiper or for a circuit on the car, and you don't have that circuit turned on, there's no power that's going to be on that circuit anyway until you put power to it, and it's going to go from the switch through the fuse to the unit.
Well, I've tried that, Bobby, and I'm still not receiving no power.
So what doesn't work on the car? Or on the Nissan?
Pardon?
What doesn't work on the Nissan?
Well, the cruise control does it. The back windshield wiper don't work. The back sprayer don't work. That's about it on the Nissan.
Okay. But how many fuses are blank on the Nissan?
I got about 6 open circuits without a fuse in them in there. I got about 12 fuses on that left side that there's no power coming to it.
Well, here's the bottom line. Without a wiring diagram, you should be able to turn the cover over, and there should be a legend on the cover as to what those fuses feed. And if you have no power going to the fuse, but everything's working on the vehicle, who cares? Those fuses don't necessarily feed anything statically, but they may feed things when you got the key on and or wipers on or washer on. You see where I'm going? So
yeah, I do.
So in other words, you're in there checking for fuses. You're in there checking every bedroom in your house for lights, and the lights are not on, and nobody's turned the light on, or they're not at the time. I mean, it's not that simple. But
I got you on that, Bobby.
Okay, my friend. Hey, thanks
now on the van, real quick, I'm out of here.
All right.
The van is the fan radiators are not working. I changed the relays from number 3 to number 1, and you can let it sit and run for a pretty good while.
All right, wait. Does it have air conditioning? Does the air conditioning work?
Yes.
Okay. Turn the key on. Crank the engine up. Cold. Turn the air conditioner on, make sure the compressor is on, and that fan should run within 30 seconds. Will it do that? Do you know?
I don't know, but I'm sitting in the van right now, and all I got to do is switch it over after I get off the phone with you.
Okay, and here's why. The same fans that cool the car and the engine also, but they don't come on until the engine reaches 225 degrees, and that takes a long time, but that fan immediately comes on within less than a minute when you turn the air conditioner on, because it cools the condenser, otherwise it'll blow the compressor. So, the high pressure. So that's the way you test the motors. If the motors are good and work with the air conditioner, then they'll work with the engine unless that circuit is bad, but at least they'll tell you if it's a circuit and not the motors. You got it?
I got it, Bobby.
Okay, my friend.
Appreciate it a lot, and y'all have a great day.
You as well.
To listen to you every chance we get.
All right, take care. That's pretty cool. All right, who's next? 888-227-2546. Let's go to New York. Daryl, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Hey, I got a question for you. I've been a long-time listener here.
Okay, great.
I got a 2017 Toyota Tacoma.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Where I live, it's got an automatic transmission, V6.
Right.
Where I live, you can set it a traffic light for like upwards of 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, what I do is when I'm sitting there, I just kick it into neutral, kind of relieve the pressure against the transmission and the brakes.
Right.
And then when the light turns green, I re-engage. Am I doing myself any favors doing that, or
actually you're putting yourself in a potential dangerous situation, and I'm glad that you called. And that is a no-no, and here's why. Number one, that's automatic transmission. So at idle, it has a slush box or or not a catalytic converter or a torque converter that is a fluid coupling, and I call it a slush box because it's like if you were to put your hand in a bathtub and then push the water longitudinally, lengthwise, it's a low pressure point behind your hand and you're pushing water. Well, there are 50 such hands or blades, plus 50 or more or whatever, 100, that are cups, and that's what drives the vehicle. But at an idle, it's pretty freewheeling, and that's why the engine will idle with no load on it per se when you put it in gear. So you're not saving any gas or any wear and tear by putting the car in neutral and back into drive. Now, and granted, you're applying the clutches and what have you, and they're locking up and they're turning loose. But here's the most important no-no about what you're doing, Daryl. I don't know about you, but I'm always cognizant of people that are coming up behind me when I'm at a traffic light because I feel like I'm in a helpless situation and somebody's going to rear end me sooner than later. I'm not paranoid about it, but I'm always watching that person that's coming up to me wondering, is he or she going to stop? I mean, you've been there, right?
The chance is
okay.
always there.
Now, to that end, I'm always cognizant about emergency vehicles. And just recently, I had to pull out of my lane to make way for an ambulance that came by. Mm-hmm. When that happens, you don't have time to put it in gear. And if you step on the gas, before you pull it down into gear, there's an automatic device that won't let it go into gear if the motor's... In other words, you can't bonsai start a car these days. You can't race the engine like we do in drag racing and used to. Race the engine up and then drop it in gear and like dropping a hammer and dropping a clutch. So you're putting yourself in a position to where if you had to move the car immediately, you couldn't do it. You'd be confused. It would be one of those 2-second, your life passes you by in 2 seconds and God knows what else. So don't do that. You're not saving anything by doing that, and you're putting yourself in a position to where if you ever had to move, you couldn't. You got it?
I got it.
Okay. I'm glad you called. And now, you can take up the habit of using left foot, right foot, which is a great driving habit if your reflexes are good, and it will save you the time in an emergency situation to where you have to lift your foot off the accelerator, move your leg over, and put your foot on the brake. When you've got your left foot on the brake and your right foot on the gas, I do that consistently and persistently. Thanks for your call, Daryl.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome. Let's go to Florida. Let's come back from New York to Florida. Mike, 2000 Corvette, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby, how are you today?
I'm great, man. How about yourself? What can I do for you?
Well, sir, I got a 2000 Corvette 6-speed Tremec with 108,000 on it,
okay.
And the car has always had an issue. Even the owner's manual says that sometimes you got to double clutch it to get into first gear.
Yeah, I know.
The synchros just weren't. So I got a guy. He's got a 6-speed SS Camaro, my mechanic,
right?
And I asked him about Royal Purple synthetic, and he said, "No, use Redline." But I'm reading something about paper blocking gear or paper blocking something in the transmission that the synthetic will ruin. What do you think?
That is absolutely false. That is absolutely false. Synthetic transmission fluid will not damage a transmission. if that synthetic transmission fluid list, if that transmission has a let me back up, because you get me riled up here, because people talk, oh, don't do that, it'll hurt your engine, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Excuse my French, but
yes, sir.
but that Tremac is used in so many cars, and here's an example, because I had one in my Viper, which I had for 01 until this past year, and I went through 3 different types of transmission fluid because it was clunky. I didn't like it; it was too notchy, and I ended up putting. Yep. I put, and here's a plug for Royal Purple. I'm no longer connected with them, but I still use their product. I use Royal Purple Synchro Max. Synchro Max.
Okay.
And that transmission shifted better than it did, and it came with Castrol, and there was a white tag on the transmission of my Viper that said, use only Castrol. Well, yeah, that's because Castrol and Viper had a deal. But the bottom line,
right.
I put the Synchro Max in it, and that transmission shifted better than it ever did before, and I've always used that transmission fluid. The blocking rings you're talking about are synchronizers that have friction, and they're coned, and when one gear tries to mesh with another, and they're going 2 different speeds, and you're pushing on the gear shift, you're actually pushing a collar that pushes a cone, and before the collar can go over and connect the 2 gears, they zip and they speed up because the clutch or the cone or the synchronizer captures the one that's going slower and brings it up to speed with the one that's going faster, and the millisecond that they are both the same speed, zip, then the collar is allowed to go over the spline and connects the 2. That's how it works. And you can, in some cases, use a too slippery, like automatic transmission. You could, on the wrong application, use a too slippery synthetic, and you would reduce the coefficient of friction, and you would cause the transmission to slide into gear versus pop into gear. Of course, people that drive cars love that, sliding into gear. And the frictional coefficient is all part of, like braking, like stopping, like going. And I'll give you one example, and then we have a hard break coming up. But Mike, this is what's important. If you were to put canola oil on your hand and put it on top of your granite top kitchen, and I stood on top of your hand, you could snatch your hand out from under my foot with my weight on it, and it wouldn't hurt you because of the friction coefficient of friction. But if you put your hand dry on your sidewalk that is broom finished concrete, and I stepped on your hand, when you pull your hand out, you're going to leave some skin. You got it? Yes,
sir, I do.
That's the coefficient of friction. So the question then lies, when you put brake pads on your car, do you use a smooth pad, a hard pad, or you use a soft abrasive pad? That's where the manufacturer designs the coefficient of friction and the size of the calipers to make sure that the pedal effort is within a comfort zone. More when I come back. Don't touch that dial. Being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can strain your automobile. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Winter means shorter days and longer nights. It's a great time to make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly, and don't forget to make sure your headlights are properly aimed. This item is often overlooked. The best way to warm up your engine in the winter is to drive gently at the start. Make sure your ice scraper and snow brush are accessible, and replenish your emergency kit. Jumper cables, a flashlight, blankets, extra clothes, bottled water, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit with any medication that may be needed. It may seem like a lot, but better safe than sorry. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. And she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We have a question in our chat room, and our chat room, by the way, is open to anyone. If you would like to tune in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and you're not home where you normally hear us on your AM and or FM station, you can go to watchbobbylive.com, and we're there in HD full screen every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time. That's watchbobbylive.com. So in our chat room, we have a gentleman that has asked the question, Bobby, I heard you mention Super Chips Power Pack Stage 1 Performance Kit, which is the gas tuner and a cold air intake combo kit. What is that? Well, number one, Power Pack, that's P-O-W-E-R, well, you know how to spell that, P-A-Q. It's a tuner and intake that will take your car to the next level in performance. I guess the simple explanation, you can think of optimizing the tuning that accounts for increased cooler airflow into the engine, which means that's more air that gets in the cylinder, so that brings more power, and it's a higher efficient intake system. So it's an industry-leading flash pack tuner and jammer gas intake system all in a row, a dual unit. It is way over the top. There's a lot of well-established brands in the marketplace, but the team folks at Super Chips elected to invest in a new gas intake with quality and performance in mind specifically. Super Chips now offers the Power Pack, which gives you a distinct advantage when you bundle two of their items together. For more information, and especially if you drive an F-Series, a Silverado or Sierra, and the Ram Hemi gas truck that covers you. It's got you covered. Go to superchips.com and take a look at what you can do with your vehicle without turning a wrench. I mean, seriously, this is really, we install these, not every day, but we've installed many of them, and we got a lot of happy customers. Superchips.com. Go to Texas, take a call from Boyd. Boyd, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
My question, Bobby, is I have a pickup that inherited, okay, and the transmission was smoked on it. It's an 85 GMC.
Got it.
So I went and bought it. He just went ahead and rebuilt. A friend of mine, he built them for his race cars, so he's pretty cool on it.
Good.
Anyway, I flushed all the cooler and all that,
Right.
Blew it out with nitrogen, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So, and it's a 350 turbo walk-up.
Got it.
Okay. And it works perfect, but in the mornings you have to let it sit there and prime itself up before it'll move.
That's a valve body issue. And well, wait, Boyd, and we just had one this week. We put a used motor for a gentleman. He's got an old truck that really doesn't look like it should be fixed, but He wanted to put money in it. It was a grandfather's truck or some of so and he works right down the street at Tires Plus, and he's a good young man. So we worked with him for the last 6 weeks to find a used engine that he could afford, and even his company helped offset. They actually have a program I thought was really unusual, where they gave him X amount of dollars when he's in a situation, a catastrophic situation, that helps him get to work. I think it's a whale of a program. I'm going to find out more about that. But in the meantime, we got this used engine in a vehicle, and it ran really, really well. Put it in gear, nothing. So after 6 weeks of helping this young man, my technician comes over to Rusty just yesterday and said, got this engine running great, but the transmission doesn't work. I said, you got to be kidding me. Bottom line, after it warmed up, it goes. So we know that it has internal seals that are brittle and letting pressure bypass. Just like, and think about this, Boyd, here's how simple that is. I say simple. Here's what makes a transmission go. Rubber bands are what makes a transmission, automatic transmission, move. And a rubber band is a simple term for a sealing O-ring that goes around a piston, just like a syringe. When you just think of a syringe that you're a turkey baster or a shot in your arm, that's a cylinder with a piston and medication, and you push the thumb, and that pushes on a plunger, and a plunger has a seal. If that seal leaks, whatever's in that plunger, some goes in your arm and some goes out the other end and bleeds by. In an automatic transmission, you can't have that happen because you don't have the pressure to apply that clutch. So in your vehicle, you have this person who is qualified that built this transmission, and he put all new seals. So you don't have a seal issue, although you could, but I doubt it, because if you had a seal on a new seal, it would be ruptured or torn, which could happen on assembly. I've done it. And that would allow fluid to bypass, especially when cold. That's probably not the case. So where is it? It could have a valve body issue, so that when you turn the vehicle off, the torque converter is draining back down half of the fluid, because it's a round bellows, and half of the fluid, which is higher and elevated than the transmission pan, it will drain out until it reaches half empty, which is where the center hub is, where the converter plugs into the front pump. So if you don't have if the check valve in the valve body doesn't keep the converter filled with fluid when you turn the motor off, every time you crank it up, the pump has to fill the converter before the car will move, and that's why it doesn't move. What do you think?
Sounds good to me, but my buddy told me that you can buy an external check valve and put in line.
So, did he do it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm fortunate to have my own car lift, and I worked on everything from.
But wait.
Okay.
An external check valve doesn't apply to the torque converter, because the external check valve is in the cooler line, and that is an adjacent item. It's not something that it needs to be checked, and there's no check valve in that line. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about within the valve body, where the valve body bolts up to the transmission's bottom valleyways and holds the fluid in the converter.
Yeah.
That's
so here's my kicker.
Okay.
Right here.
All right.
That truck had been worked on, and the transmission lines were all jacked up. So I put them back the way they were. Could they possibly be crossed?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In, out, doesn't. Boyd, you know so much about the transmission that you don't know what you're doing. Okay, so let me tell you this. You crank the vehicle up. You got one cooler line. It pushes fluid out and goes to the radiator, and it comes back and goes back in another hose.
Yes.
The radiator doesn't care if it's coming in one hole and going out the other. It still goes through a cooling radiator within the radiator. So it should come into the bottom and flow to the top, but in the essence, in the real big sense of the word, ain't gonna matter. That's not what's wrong with your problem. That won't cause it not to go. Even if you disconnected the hoses from the cooler line and it shot fluid everywhere, which you wouldn't do, it still would crank up and go into gear and pull off.
Yeah.
So you have an internal problem, and it's not the converter, because it's not the converter's job to stay full. It is the valve body's job to fill it and then hold it filled when you turn the key off. It's in the valve body, a check valve in the valve body. To have your talk to your technician about this and go to say, show me on the diagram where the check valve is for the torque converter of this car. You got it? Okay.
Hey, I love your show. We got to get you on TV.
We have been on. I am on TV right now. WatchBobbyLive.com. Where you live in Texas, Boyd?
Little place called New Summerfield.
New Summersville. What's the weather like today?
It's about, let me see, it is
well, roughly
40 degrees and cloudy.
Cloudy. Well, have a great cloudy day. As the Eagles say, cloudy days. I love that song, love that band. Hey, thanks for calling.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye. So here's a gentleman that knows too much, so he really doesn't know. I say that with all candor and with all affection, because I find that the wiser I get, the more experience I get. The main thing with young technicians, and they're great, they don't know what they don't know. But I guess you could say that about life. Let's go to John in Kansas. John, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. Glad to hear you today.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I've got a 1990 Mazda Miata.
Okay.
And we have put an LS1 Corvette engine in it with a 6-speed transmission.
Cool.
Yes, it is. It's a little monster.
Yeah, a big monster. How does it hook up?
Right now, not well. The tires don't stand a chance. So
No,
we're looking at getting
really,
bigger.
really, and you know, but you know the Miata, John, the Miata is the #1 car in the United States. I started to say the world, but in our world, that is a racer, that is owned and raced on weekends by novices of all cars made. The Miata, because it has a 49%, 51 weight on the front and 49% on the back. Now, yours is a little different. I don't know how you shoehorn that huge monster motor in that vehicle, but that's for another topic, another day. Let's talk about your challenges. How can I help you?
And actually with the LS and it's set back just a little bit, we're at about 52-48, so we didn't change it much.
Well, no, you didn't.
But the steering is very, very quick. It's very twitchy, and I believe the LS power steering pump puts out about 900 to 1,000 psi.
Oh, sure.
And I'm not sure what the Miata power steering pump does. A friend of mine says that he knows that they have turned them up on some sand cars because of the heavier steering and the power steering.
Right.
I didn't know if you can turn the pressure down on the LS pump to maybe make it a slower steering on the front.
Here's what I would do. That's a great question. That's a great scenario here. Here's what I would do. You know that today's cars use variable pressures, and there are pressure sensors, and so the pressure that a pump puts out at an idle or at slow speeds idle is greater, and the power assist is greater when you're parallel parking, because that's when you need the help. I mean, going down the road 40 miles an hour, you don't even need power steering. So, so there's variable power steerings. I would look into the variable power steering of GM's cars, and I would, number one, determine where that variable comes in. And I don't know, because I've never modified one, but I love what we're doing here. You want to know if the pump pressure varies, or if the gearbox bypass varies the application of the pressure. Because the pump has a check valve, and it will pump X amount of pressure. And that check valve, if it can withhold, say if it can produce 1,000 pounds of pressure, it's still running 1,000 pounds of pressure when you don't need it. It's just bypassing it and putting it in recirculating. In other words, it's not going to the gearbox. It's just going round robin within the pump itself. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So you only need, it's on demand. So I would do, if I were you, and I'm very interested in your project, I would do some investigative work as to how I could apply a pressure, variable pressure regulator. That's one thing I would do. Another thing that I would do is I would look into, if that failed, I would look in, what kind of gearbox is on it? What kind of steering box is on it? Factory?
It's a factory. It's a 90 Mazda.
Okay.
And it's a reman one, but it's still a 90 Mazda.
Oh, okay. Then there are two things. If all else fails, you could increase the size of the pulley on the pump, which would reduce its twitchiness because it would slow it down. And that's one thing. Or you could play with the steering arms and extend the steering. This is you have to get into slip angle and get into suspension, but you could change the length of the steering arm. There's got to be some company out there that offers a solution for what you're doing, because twitchiness and what have you is not going to get it, because you got a car with too much power, and if you got an oversensitive steering, that's a recipe for, and you're nervous with it. I don't blame you. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but I don't have the time to explore because we're near the end of the program. But I'll think about it, and you think about it. In the meantime, this week, you look for variable pressures, and just you can go to any of the shops and use their books, or go to a local dealer, and here's what you can do. You can go to O'Reilly Auto Parts store. They're friendly there, and they're professional, and see where the power steering pressure regulator valve for pressure control is located. And if it's on the hose, wow, you can determine the wiring and add that to your system. You got it?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, very interesting. Hey, thanks for calling. Stay in touch, because you're not going to solve this by the flip of a switch. It takes a little engineering, and that's where the fun comes in with having a modified 90 Miata with a big block, a big bore Chevrolet engine, not a big block, but a big Chevrolet engine. Hey, thanks for calling, John.
Thank you, Bobby.
How cool. What a great show. I just had so much fun today. I couldn't tell you. I can tell you. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's make a date next Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern time. You come back here. In the meantime, take care of your car. And by the way, there's a product out there that I really like, because it saved me this week. It saved one of my customers. It's called K-Seal. It had a radiator and a potential engine block leak, and we added it, made us look good, saved that customer a lot of money. K-Seal, kseal.com. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated, and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, you and I have discussed car repair for years on years. One of the biggest challenges is to know which part to buy when you do repair your automobile. You want to get the best quality, and for that, I recommend Bosch. Bosch, invented for life, makes parts for all of the OEMs. That's all of the car makers. So when you buy a replacement part for your car, it makes sense to buy a part that's been made by the original manufacturer that made the part for the car to start. That would be Bosch. And speaking of Bosch, there's a new Bosch Snow Driver windshield wiper blade that's been tested to perform to minus 20 degrees that provides advanced winter dependability because it cuts through the harshest of the elements, and it's reliable during all of the conditions. For example, it has a specially coated wiping edge that adds adaptation to changes in the winter elements for improved visibility, and it's quick and easy installation with a click-on adapter system. Bosch makes the best parts. For more information, go to BoschAutoparts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul. You warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me with